Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino, Michael Asiffo, and Aaron Zaretsky, and we're back here with another roundtable, getting ready to talk about the latest headlines in sports. And we got to start off with the big game last night, the Super Bowl that took place. We have a new Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. They defeated the New England Patriots. I'll start off with you, Aaron. What were your thoughts on the game last night? And was it as, I guess, boring as everybody on social media said it was?
Yeah, like if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, it's tremendous, right? Them winning the Super Bowl, getting to once again be Super Bowl champions. But for a casual fan, it wasn't a classic game by any means. Like it was a defensive battle, with Seattle's defense just really smothering New England. New England couldn't get anything really rushing wise, passing. Seattle just, in all areas, they really kicked New England's butt. And then when it like in the fourth quarter, when it looked like New England was starting to get a sliver of momentum, Seattle just took it right back with an interception. And yeah, for New England fans, it's disappointing. But then also too, it's been a surprise for them to even be in the Super Bowl because nobody really expected that.
Mm.
So yeah, like if you love defense, that was the perfect Super Bowl for you.
Michael, what did you think of the big game last night?
Yeah, definitely concur with Aaron's thoughts here. Is that it was definitely one of those defensive battles. There were I think Drake May underperformed, even given those expectations that most people can agree are very lofty for a second year quarterback to live up to. He was somehow even worse than the most charitable person would have been willing to accept. But I do think that at the end of the day, like if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan, you loved what you saw because it's something that can be replicated over and over again. It's hard to necessarily get to a Super Bowl, but the defense is so well coached. Sam Darnold is, he's a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I definitely would put him in the better half of the quarterbacks in the league, but he's not necessarily playing out of his mind where he's having this top 10 season, right? He's good and he'll get you to a Super Bowl, right? So I definitely think if you're a Seahawks fan, you're very enthused with what you saw. But if you're a casual onlooker, like Aaron said, watching a game, maybe you would hope for a bit more pizzazz, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with you both. And Michael, I'll start with you here because they also had like that first half. I think it was 9-0 going into
Mhm.
halftime. So low scoring like that. Do you think the second half ratings when they come in they'll be higher because of the halftime show, or do you think after the halftime show everyone just tuned out and maybe like that casual viewer shifted their attention elsewhere?
It's hard to say because definitely the story goes with Super Bowls is that people watch the first half, they see the halftime show, and then that's when the real football fans watch, right? But I think the thing about the Super Bowl is that it's always been this, but it's really starting to turn into this for other countries where it's an excuse to party. So the TV is still on, right?
Yeah.
The TV will still be on. So I think it. I don't think necessarily it mattered if the game was good. It's just that it was an excuse for people to go out, see people they haven't seen in a while, get together, and just enjoy each other's company. So that's what I think most casual onlookers were doing. And it also helps that the halftime show was legitimately very, very good
Yeah.
so that people just were in a better mood and vibe. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like Aaron, was that the saving grace there? Like Okay, second half comes around, like, at least everyone has a TV on. If something exciting happens when they all start scoring all of a sudden, maybe their attention goes on, but if you're the NFL, you take advantage of, the Super Bowl parties just having that TV on.
Oh yeah, no doubt, 100%. And like with Bad Bunny being such a global star, to have that big audience, watch his performance, and then as Michael said, have that good vibe, upbeat, feel good and everything. So it's like the transition that into the second half, like it was perfect, and like yes, there's been a lot of debates about if Bad Bunny was the right person to perform at halftime, should have gone with somebody else. But I think overall it turned out great, for the viewers, turned out great for the NFL. And yeah, like, in the second half, had more scoring. So like, okay, maybe get closer. But then obviously it turned out into a 16-point win for Seattle. And I think too, like just being in San Francisco, like I know they went to San Francisco like previously, but to have that, Super Bowl in San Francisco, and it's like nice weather, nice temperatures and everything. So, and then also too, it's like, with it being like the Super Bowl 60 and like, celebrating, it's like 250 years of American independence. So to bring that all together, just a global spectacle.
Yeah, that's great, and that was one big game, and, now we're going on to the big event that's happening in the world, the Olympics in,
Mhm.
Milano Cortina, and it started off yesterday with, Lindsey Vohn's Olympic moment. I don't
Oh
know if you guys
yeah,
saw that crash, but she went
that was
into
so
the
sad.
Olympics with an tore ACL, I believe, or was it, like, I don't know if it was a torn ACL going into it.
Mhm.
So, that was one thing, and then she has that crash. So, Michael, do you think this will maybe lead in the future to more strict rules at the Olympics and more coaches having to protect the athletes from themselves here?
Um, maybe it. Okay. I mean, I think everyone knows. I once, well, twice fought on a torn ACL. So this is, I am would theoretically be the athlete that you're talking about here that needs to be protected. Um, and the sad thing in all this is that the sad reality is that most athletes, when going into a big event like the Olympics, are dealing with something. Is it to the severity of a torn ACL? More often than not, no. But are they dealing with something? Maybe a partially torn MCL, maybe a fractured ankle, maybe a bad back, maybe a shoulder rotation, shoulder rotator cuff thing. Everyone's dealing with something going into a big event. It just is the reality of the situation. Um, so to so it's one of those things where as a coach, as a doctor, as a team doctor, as an organizer, do you take away someone's chance at being great just because you're dealing with something? And that's the $1 million question that people who are in the know have to wrestle with. I'm not talking about casual Jimmy Tom so and so who sits at his TV or her TV watching the Olympics. I'm talking about the people in the know who know that these athletes have spent 4 years training, working their butt off, qualifying to get into the Olympics. Who know that they're doing something. That $1 million question is, what can we do? What what's the word I'm looking for? What measures can we put in place to make it so that people with major injuries like a torn ACL can't go in there to compete?
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where, like, Aaron, do you think that Team USA maybe, like, I know there's a lot of sponsors, especially for her being a big name,
Mhm.
but do you think somebody should have just came in and said, "You know what? This isn't worth it?"
Um, like I guess now looking at hindsight, then probably, but at the same time, like injuries happen in sports all the time. Like it's unfortunate when it happens, but that's the risk involved in any of these competitions. And and with Vaughn, she's a professional. She's been doing this for years now. So, it's just very unfortunate that that this injury happened. And, hopefully this injury won't like get her down and get her hopes up and be like, okay, I'm not gonna like compete anymore. I'm just gonna give it all together. Hopefully, at the very least, maybe she could like use this and like, okay, I'm gonna be better, stronger. I'm gonna use it as fuel so that I can get back to the Olympic stage and medal.
Do you guys think that maybe Kurt Angle ruined it for everyone? He did win a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. So do you think everyone's looking at this as, I want my Kurt Angle moment?
Yeah. You know what's funny though? I think everyone has that like image of the Jordan flu game, the Kurt Angle broken neck. Like how great of a story would it have been with Lindsey Vonn being 41 years old on a torn ACL, 41 years old on a torn ACL, winning the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Like there's an alternate universe somewhere where Lindsey Vonn basically has like, it is in the American culture zeitgeist as her own version of the flu game, right? Where on a torn ACL in her 40s wins the Olympics. But instead, we're talking about, her crashing and being airlifted off, right? So it's really sad. But you make a good point, like, in all seriousness, like, did maybe those images of pushing through it, maybe, I guess give people delusions of grandeur, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
As we go on here in the Olympics, later this week, we're going to finally get the NHL players back for the first time since 2014. And Sid the Kid got named the captain, and Austin Matthews got named the captain for Team USA. So I'll start with you, Aaron, on Matthews, because if you're Team USA, are you worried when you see the incredible success the Leafs have had in the playoffs, and now you're giving him the C in this important tournament?
Well, if you look back at the Four Nations last year, it was Canada versus US in the finals, and very competitive game, and obviously, US fell short. But this time around, like yes, those playoff failures are well noted. Like it's hard to not think about that, but at the same time, it's like it could very well be Canada and US in the gold medal game this time around. But like USA has a strong team like they did in the Four Nations, and with Matthews being captain again, hopefully he can have a good Olympics, and then that could hopefully carry in to his play for the Maple Leafs for the remainder of the season to try and get the Leafs into a playoff spot. But it should be a fun Olympics. It's great to see that the NHL players are back in the Olympic Games. But I do have Canada, as the favorite because, to have your number one line of McDavid, Crosby, and McKinnon, like that is just so hard to, compete with.
Should be good. And like Michael too, on the Olympic hockey, like for the winter, having the NHL there is like having the NBA for the summer, and it's like this is like a true best on best. And without Russia though there, like do you think some of those players that are in the NHL, those Russian players, are getting like shortchanged here, like Alex Ovechkin, who's most likely at the end of his career?
It's a complicated situation. And so it's hard to speak on, given the whole Russia situation, right? Because the issue is like Russia's reputation on the world stage is what it is, and it's a shame because you do lose out on guys like Ovechkin, guys like Panarin, guys like the list goes on and on for a bunch of really high touted Russian athletes. So getting that best on their side, obvious. Like the answer, I guess, the short answer to what you're asking is no. Like, yeah, like, you know. But excuse me. But I don't think even if they did put their best field in there, they would stand much of a chance. Because you look at Sweden, you look at Finland, you look at Canada, you look at USA, you look at even teams like even Germany, right? And you know, just eyeballing like roster for roster, can we really say that Russia can beat any of these teams confidently? Like, no, seriously, guys. Like,
yeah, just on offense, but like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Their defense, goalies, they have the best ones, but like their defense is a big hole.
Yeah. So, whereas Germany, like they've really stepped up their game, right? Where I'm like, hey, Germany can pull something off here. And then obviously Finland and Sweden, I think like honestly, top to bottom, like if I'm Canada, I'm scared, especially with the way Canada constructed their roster. Does leave a little bit to be desired on defense. So it's one of those things where it's like I don't think it matters. Am I being weird? Like am I like
no,
I don't know.
I think it's just more like when they say best on best and like Alex Ovechkin passing Gretzky and could have been a big thing for the Olympics to promote like we have the greatest goal scorer in NHL history playing in this tournament type of thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the short answer is no. Like, yeah, like you know, you don't get the best on best, and we are getting a bit short change there at seeing Alexander Ovechkin. But Alexander Ovechkin is not good this year. would he have? He would make the team. Obviously, it's like the symbolic, like Dirk Nowitzki making like an All-Star game, or Dwayne Wade making an All-Star game. Of course, he would have made it this year. But like, is he even a fourth liner? Like,
maybe.
You know, maybe I'm stretching.
He'll be on the power play. Just be at the center ice, camp out there, and wind up for a slap shot. That's what he's going to be looking for.
And so, like,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that. Like, I was reading an article and it was saying that Russian athletes, they can't compete in the Olympics, but they would have to do it independently and can have any like Russian flags, logos, or symbols like on them. So when I was reading that, I was thinking like, what if, you know, like the Russian hockey players like Ovechkin and everybody else, right? Like Vasilevsky and Kucherov and everybody, Panarin, like let's say if they like all got together and like, couldn't they like just form a team, but like it'd have to be, they had to come up with a name and like jersey and everything. So it'd take like obviously it'd take like a lot of time and money to figure all that out. But like if they want to get together and have a team, like an independent team, like couldn't that like I don't know, maybe fit into with the other countries?
I think they did in 2018. I'll have to check back, but I know when they played in that Olympics, there were no NHL players, but they were like Olympic athletes from Russia or something like that. And they had just the Olympic logo, and it kind of looked weird, but at least they got to play in it. But I think they should have done that here. Or Italy's in there. They could have just gave everyone a citizenship, nice passport for 2 weeks, put them all on the team for the home ice fans. And Ovechkin could have changed his name, made it Italian. Just say, yeah.
Ovechkinina. Group of Milan with the boy. Oh, man. Yeah. No, it's a complicated situation. And you know, definitely like we're not that kind of podcast. But there's questions to be asked of like, hey, like you know, certain countries don't exactly that are in the Winter Olympics also don't have the greatest reputation on world stage right now. And should their athletes not be allowed to compete under that banner? And if so, like how do you go about it? And should we be doing this every single time? And so many different questions to be asked, and I'm not the person to ask them. Like, I'm not trying to even be like I'm not trying to be weaponized incompetence when I say that. I'm just saying, like, the reality of the situation is this is complicated, but it's the decision we have, and it's unfortunate, right? But I just, man, you just look up and down like the Russian roster. They're aging. They're not great on defense. Their goal production is going down, and even like Vasilevsky, like he's a good goaltender, but like like is he enough to save everything? Like, so that's my only thing
True.
on it. Yeah.
That's true. And gonna transition as we're talking about world stage here. The NBA All-Star Game finally changed their format. Team USA, you got the World All-Stars. Is Team USA in for a rude awakening here?
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, because you combine all the world players, and it's not like what it was like 20 years ago, where the USA players just by far outplayed the other countries. But yeah, it's like to have like Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic on the same team, and then also too like it would have been Shea Gilgeous-Alexander too, but obviously with the injury that won't happen. But to have those guys on the same team, good luck USA.
Man, let me ask you guys a question. Like, if Team World, like the best Team World could be, was Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, Luca, and Shea. If they were to face prime LeBron, Steph, KD, I guess Joel Embiid is technically USA, Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis, who wins?
I'll still go the World. Like that's a matchup nightmare. They're all massive, and they
Yeah.
can move, and they can shoot threes. Like,
do you see what I'm talking about here? Like, and so I mean, obviously, like defensively, like yeah, you probably would rather a power forward over putting like Jokic and Wemby on the same team. But do you see my point here in saying like the world team is a very good team, and I think that's a good thing. I think it speaks to the success of the NBA turning the game into a global game. Like I saw, who's that one cat on Portland the other day? The Chinese cat. Why is my name driving?
I don't.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The brother can play, and so this is a good thing. Like I played with Dylan Brooks. Well, I didn't play with him. I played against Dylan Brooks once, and now he's scoring 21 points a game over in Phoenix. Like that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So, this is a good thing. The NBA is a global league, right? I know, technically speaking, we've always considered it the league for the Americans, but no, it's a global league, and that means the fact that the best players in the world are playing and they happen to be from other countries is a good thing. But it also means that, hey, if you want to be good at this, if this is your sport, USA, you got to step up.
That's true. Like, Aaron, do you think that if they continue this format and do like a traditional like game out of it, I think they're doing a shortened game this year, but if they went with the traditional team USA versus the world, the USA might be losing more than once?
Yeah, yes, yeah. If this continues like a trend, and then that could definitely happen, and then the USA could be like, oh, why we keep losing, whatever, this ain't good, let's change up again. So now we become favored, give us another advantage, right? Or whatnot. But yeah, like it should be fun to see how the game turns out. Hopefully it's a more of a competitive game than in previous All-Star games. And and just hope for the best, really. Like and then also too, like a friend of mine brought up a point of like, what if the NBA All-Star game were to be the European All-Stars versus the NBA All-Stars?
Oh, like you get some teams from Eurobasket? Like you get
exactly, yeah. Yeah, you get like the Euro basketball like All-Stars, like top players going to face the NBA top players.
Would be interesting.
I see what you mean.
If it was in Europe, though, they might have the advantage. Put it in like Croatia with the fans there that throw the flares around and go absolutely crazy at basketball games over there. Maybe they'll have the advantage, but if
Yeah.
it's like a NBA All-Star team with Jokic, KD, and like Shea, all those guys together, I think the NBA might win that one.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I think the NBA will win it, like if it's like the All Stars, but I think it does speak to the fact that like you're going to have to be competitive because those guys are going to go at you, especially since like you're talking about like not just NBA All Stars versus European All Stars, but like a lot of those European guys are former NBA players who, be it politics or opportunity, or didn't get like the same kind of looks, you know, just didn't make it to the NBA or didn't get to, show all they could do in the NBA. And now this is their opportunity to prove themselves, right? So the point is that they will be competitive. They will give a fight. And if it's on home turf in like Belgium or something, right? So that's the point.
And then you get the whole European crowd too, which add another layer to excitement and everything. Like they're just a raucous crowd.
Wish it was like that here. Like Scotiabank Arena for a Leaf game, I think they could use some of that. Even like 5% of that would be better than the suits down there saying, "Why are these people cheering? I thought we were in a conference meeting now."
Oh yeah.
It's like one of those things there where fan bases too, even the rules set in Europe, I think they do the trapezoid for the key, so it's different. Different rules. So it also depends on like how they play it. I think they might have an advantage if they can use the Euro rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in like basketball, like the whistle tends to be a lot more silenced in the European game nowadays, versus before in the days of '03 when Tim Duncan was playing for Team USA and failed, mind you. The whistle in the NBA side of the game was a lot more silent. So like it's going to be interesting to see like how, like what rule set they would play. Well, if this were to happen, what rule set they could have played with,
Speaking of chaos, we're going to have to go. This is our final topic here. Pro wrestling, the world of WWE and AEW, and these rumors I'm seeing, they're too good to pass up. They could all be false, fake news and everything, but you got to just talk about it because of how crazy some of them sound. First with WWE, one source there has been going around on their podcast and making the rounds saying that Vince McMahon might be nearing a return to WWE after this whole scandal of 3 years where he got pushed out basically by TKO. Michael, do you think this is going to happen? And what kind of reception would Vince McMahon get if that music hits?
Look, money speaks to all. So like that first 3 weeks that Vince McMahon comes, people are going. There's going to be a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not excitement views, but like wondering views of like I wonder how this is going to go if they hear Vince McMahon comes back, and he does his whole thing. But even from let's assume Vince McMahon did nothing wrong. Let's pretend Vince McMahon did nothing, right? And he just went away for a couple years and then came back, right? Like he just went for a sabbatical and came back. We're talking about a man approaching his 80s. Is he going to really be as spry and quick on the mic as he once was? Do you remember when he came out that one time for a couple of weeks, and like he came out for a couple of weeks, like that one period of in like 2022, and he tried to jump off and I was genuinely scared his legs were going to explode into a cloud of dust, like So, never mind the allegations and what happened and yada and the details that came out, but let's just assume he came for a sabbatical. This is a man in 2025 who I believe is approaching 81. If you can correct me if I'm wrong, if someone has the fact checks on that. I'm not trying to see an 81-year-old go out there and stumble and be a bubbling fool for himself. I don't want to see it. And I'm like, it makes me feel gross. And then you add in the situation on hand and what we found out in those depositions. Like, no, no, please.
This is not an ordinary 81-year-old, let's say. Like Vince McMahon is he's a genetic freak apparently. So that's an 81-year-old that would go in and probably take a stunner, or probably I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a spear from Roman Reigns. He would get involved somehow with somebody. It's just like, who would be the wrestler that would get the most from that? Would it be Braun Breaker? Like, he would have to put somebody over some of his young stars because he's thinking business. But
could you imagine Vince McMahon? Could you imagine Vince McMahon taking a spear from Braun Breaker? And not just any, like the ones where Vince McMahon,
Braun Breaker goes back and forth to the ropes and
or yeah. Do you remember the one he hit Carlito with? Could you imagine Vince McMahon took that one? The one where Braun is running down the ramp and flips? What were we talking? Just to see.
They couldn't write him off TV forever after that one. Just be like, yeah, Vince, we want you to come back, but this is how we're writing you off. A perfect send-off.
Oh my God.
Nephew putting you in retirement.
And be like, my God Almighty, he's broken in half.
Jesus.
And I'll start with you, Aaron, on the next one, because this one is a little out there, and I actually wouldn't be surprised. So Stephanie McMahon seems to be back with WWE, with Triple H there. Shane McMahon is apparently, I don't know how true this is, talking with AEW about a general manager on-screen role, and he would debut at Revolution next month. Like, does this one seem realistic? Him going and competing with his own, his family's former owned business?
Well, like, it wouldn't be a surprise because he's done this before, right? And and there's a lot of talk that if he were to be with AEW, then like, okay, this is like, what happened in 2001, where it's like he showed up on WCW and he's like, he bought WCW, so he's like the owner, and then going against his dad, right, and everything. So it would be hilarious. Like, it would be hilarious, entertaining. And it would also like add more, more viewers watching AEW and then watching WWE, like how they respond and everything. But if Shane McMahon were to be with AEW, then maybe it kind of, I don't know, maybe it opens up the door maybe a little bit more of like, maybe like a storyline between AEW and WWE. Maybe some guys can cross over or whatnot. Like kind of like the Invasion, but hopefully on a much better level, like a better scale, because that Invasion from 2001 was not what it should have been. But yeah, it would be could you imagine, right? It's just Shane just comes on and it's like, oh yeah, I'm with AEW now, and then that whole thing, it's like, oh yeah, it's like a flashback. And but yeah, no, like I would, like, as a wrestling fan, like I would just love to see that because it would be beneficial to both companies.
Michael, would you be Team Shane O'Mac or Team Triple H on that one?
I'm team wrestling. Like, I'm team wrestling. I want to see good wrestling anywhere. I think it's not like a situation with like the NBA or NFL or MLB where there's a union, right? Like, where if you have one league and that league can get better because like there's a bunch of guys in the union, they get benefits. No, it's pretty much like carnival style. So if that's the case, I want to see as many promotions reach top flight money as much as possible, because that gives more of an opportunity to see more wrestlers on the main stage, on television, doing their thing and making money and making wrestling a viable living, right? I don't want to hear, as much as I like the production of it, my goal in life, my dream in life when it comes to wrestling is to see Dark Side of the Ring no longer be a thing and have to cancel because there's no more stories to be told. But that only happens when we get more organizations, because more organizations means a better competition base, which means you can negotiate for more things, which means less wrestlers are left out in the cold, right? So all that to say is I'm team wrestling. So if Shane McMahon goes there and Shane McMahon can help AEW be a legitimate number two, which they are, but like more of a legitimate number two, fantastic. And while we're at it, if China were to come back from the grave, God rest her soul, and be the general manager of TNA somehow, great. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's my whole thing, right? Yeah, I want it. I would like it to happen. I know it's so far out there, but I want it to happen, and I want Shane McMahon to help AEW.
You just mentioned TNA there, and I guess we should bring this up. AJ Styles supposedly retired at Royal Rumble, went back in the ring, put the gloves back on. I think he still has a lot left, like probably the end of the year he retires. Like, do you think he goes to TNA and has a farewell tour there? Or do you think he'll go to AEW for like a match or two with Kenny Omega and whoever else there and then retire at the end of the year in WWE, kind of like what NBA players when they sign a one day?
Huh. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
Oh, like I was gonna, yeah, like I would say that I can very well say like it's very possible, probable that AJ Styles goes back to TNA to finish his career there and have that like storybook ending, full circle moment, and because that's where he became a star, right? And that as a wrestling fan, I would like to see that and then it could gain more viewers too for TNA matches. And there's also there's some guys in TNA that, yeah, AJ Styles hasn't fought before, so maybe try to get maybe some couple maybe dream matches or opponents that he would want to face, and then also too maybe since he spent a good amount of time in New Japan Pro Wrestling, maybe he goes back over there for a few matches to fight some guys that he hasn't fought before, or maybe try to rekindle old rivalries with guys that he did fight before.
Mike, what do you think of AJ Styles maybe having his own farewell tour outside WWE?
I mean, like, definitely, I think there's an there is a feeling of dissatisfaction with the way it ended. But I think that's part of the plan with Triple H. I think the thing about Triple H that I do like about the way he writes wrestling is that he makes a commitment to long-term storytelling, whether you like it in the moment or not, and is looking for a payoff. And so I do think that there is a universe where AJ Styles comes back to WWE, be it because it's intentional or unintentional. So I think that's the most likely option right now.
That's the final one here. Speaking of what could happen, The Rock didn't get nominated for an Oscar, so he doesn't have to go around making the rounds there on the red carpets and like politic around and say, hey, maybe you can vote for me for this Oscar, campaigning. But that frees up some spots for WrestleMania. Like, do you think he goes back now that he didn't get the Oscar, didn't get the Golden Globe, and tries to insert himself into the main event storyline with Roman Reigns and CM Punk?
You know what? There is a universe where that can happen. I think it's such an interesting. I think this CM Punk and Roman Reigns matchup. At first, I wasn't super enthused, but then I thought of it and I was like, there are so many places these guys can go, and this has the potential to be John Cena CM Punk 2013. You know what I'm saying? Or sorry, 2011. Money in the Bank 2011. Like, this has that kind of level of potential, because when Roman Reigns talked about the podcast, and I think we all, like, for backstory context, CM Punk once did a podcast with his former friend Colt Cabana, in which he mentioned a lot of things. One of the things he mentioned by name was how WWE was kind of protecting Roman, and that really, really like a lot of people don't real like a lot of people I've had arguments about this don't realize just how much that made Roman Reigns' job so much harder to get over with the crowd. Because of just how much CM Punk spoke to the frustrations of the WWE faithful. So when he mentioned that, I was all of a sudden like, hey, there's a lot of potential here. A lot of potential here for them to really empty out the clip. Granted, don't do it the Tiffany Stratton way. Like, actually, tie it into storylines.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity to really empty the clip here to make this thing really, really good, really, really special. And wouldn't it be a shame if Dwayne walks in and made it about him? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But here's the crazy thing is I can see them doing that just to get the casual guy who doesn't understand the decade and a half amount of work that this match between CM Punk and Roman Reigns has had, you know? So I think there's a universe where this happens. But if it does happen, please, please, please make it so that the involvement still focuses on the guys and their tension and feud for each other. And the storyline and the off-camera reasons on CM Punk and the effect he had on WWE, good and bad, and Roman Reigns and his journey going through WWE and how the two intertwine. There's a lot of potential here, and I'm actually very confident that Triple H, given his history of writing, will do good and tie that up. But please, without Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there, please.
Aaron, do you think The Rock, casually strolls in? The final boss thing where he hits the arm and then he goes to the ring. And you think he strolls in for this one? It's too good to pass up. Night 2 main event. It's not night 1 like the last one, so can come in there.
Yeah, and final boss character, or he could be the head tribal chief character, right? And then retie that connection. Him being cousin of Roman Reigns, and then part of the bloodline too, right? So that could always, if that were to happen, then that could always maybe start up again. But yeah, would it does it make some sense for The Rock to come up? Sure. Does it make? Is there a point to maybe he just should be left out of it, even though he's a part of the company? Maybe just leave him out of it, and also CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, that match wouldn't really need his involvement because, as to Michael, as you said, that has the potential to be a tremendous match, tremendous storytelling. But in my opinion, if The Rock were to come, appear, I would have to agree with Michael that if he does appear, let it be in a role where it doesn't jeopardize that potential Punk versus Reigns, and not to be for The Rock to make it, I'm going to make it about myself. Hopefully that were not to happen.
I agree. And that the final question on that is, with WrestleMania next year being in Saudi Arabia, do you have to have The Rock and Roman Reigns match finally take place after all these years, or just let it be? Maybe The Rock just becomes a manager for a heel Cody or even a heel Punk if they go down that route.
I just don't like these Saudi Arabia cards, y'all.
Me too. They pay the big bucks though, so that if you're a shareholder in TKO, you're happy. But
which I am, for the record, full transparency. They those stocks have served me well. I'm not gonna lie, but man, they're just not good cards, because the problem with it is that, okay, first of all, just from a logistics perspective, do you want to know why the Royal Rumble was so boring this year? Am I the only person who thought it was boring?
Yeah, the
reason why it was yeah, the reason why they were so boring is because logistically it's hard to get people into the country in the first place,
Yeah.
right? They it's so hard to get people into the country in the first place. Never mind the human rights abuses. Never mind the fact that the girls can't even skin out, the ladies can't even skin out because of the whole thing over there, which is fine. Like that's their culture. Like I'm not trying to be like, but it's just it makes it so jarring, and it's so jarring to have these cards here. And what happens is that you're in bizarre world where they want to see like the Undertaker versus Goldberg,
My
right?
classic.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god. Oh my god. So like yeah, of course we're gonna do the Roman Reigns versus The Rock thing in Saudi Arabia because that's what those Saudi Arabia fans want to see. And is that the best thing for long term storytelling where you have, you know, The Rock who's probably gonna try the Oscar bait again and fail? No offense. Do that again versus Roman Reigns who's got one foot out the door. Is that the best way to go about it? No. But then again, I wasn't really super enthused about a 47-year-old CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. And then I saw the promo. I was like, oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
So they're going to do it. I just hope that they figure it out.
Aaron, do you think about that? Like, do you agree with that?
Well, like, that match was supposed to happen last year, right? It was supposed to happen last year before everything changed, and then no, sorry, not last year, but the year before, 2 years
Yeah.
ago,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
2 years ago, sorry, 2 years ago it was supposed to happen, but then it's like, oh yeah, we want Cody and everything, right? So like I think it's bound to happen. Like, yeah, like it would be like I don't know, it's just like kind of be awkward in the sense like to have that match. Yes, it's WrestleMania, but to have it in Saudi Arabia, them too, like I don't know. Like I think they'd be better off to have it in the U.S. or like if it was like in Vegas, right? That would be, I think, better off. But yeah, I do see them two fighting each other, and then probably they'll go back to what the storyline was at the forefront, where it's like Dwayne Johnson is like the head tribal chief of the bloodline.
And then Cody sells his soul finally and embraces his dark side, which I don't know. It seems like on TV right now, like he seems upset about main eventing night one. Isn't it like it's still a main event of WrestleMania?
Man, do you do you remember that tweet that Kevin Owens put out when he was like, "Hey, all I know
Yeah.
is night two's main event," which is what a dig, eh? Oh my goodness, that was great. But so yeah, maybe look, there's always a way you can make everything work, right? Like people look at the Jinder Mahal championship run with sympathetic eyes now. Like you can make things work as long as you make a commitment to things, right?
Yeah.
So anything can work. It's just and me being a little old fan, as I tend to be on the favor of I will sit and watch, but I will definitely voice my displeasure on the initial outset of the thing, right?
I'm with you on that. And on that note, guys, this has been another fun roundtable. We talked about the Olympics, Super Bowl, uh, basketball, and the wacky world of pro wrestling, which is around WrestleMania season. Who knows what can happen? We might see Vince McMahon, we might not. Might see Shane McMahon pop up on TNT and TBS once again. Maybe not, but we will
Never say
definitely be
never.
watching. Yep, never say never in that business. So this was a fun one. Make sure everybody to check us out here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, millions.co. Subscribe over there. Give us a follow. Check out all our past content and interviews. And we'll do this again. Take care, guys.
Awesome. Take care.
Have a good one. Peace.